What's going on, world? It's your boy Gemini Brown here, back with another episode of 𝐦𝐨𝐤𝐞 Knowledge. Today, we'll be talking about the fourth house and how it may secretly undercut your pursuit of success as well as happiness in other places and on an overall day to day basis. So, let's get into it. Now, first, got to let you guys know I have developed a webinar about the psychic houses. It's two parts. And in this webinar, I go into great detail about how to understand the psychic houses 4, 8, and 12 from a mystical uh, perspective. So, a lot of times we talk about, what it's like to have this planet here and all of that. But in this perspective, I'm breaking down, let's say, the key words associated with each house and providing the broader perspective. So I think if you have planets in these houses, you identify with these houses, you should check it out. So starting with the fourth house, and a lot of my insights are influenced by being a practicing astrologer. I often tell people since the day I began doing readings, for every week I'm doing readings, there's a theme. And I just happen to have the awareness to pay attention to these things. So throughout the years, I have seen particular positions manifest in a person's life and that be associated with a certain plight they may feel. So the first thing we want to know about the fourth house, and really keep this in mind, I like to look at the fourth house as the house of conditioning. It deals with our family, the family we're born into. And we have to therefore understand the energetic influence that has on our evolution in this particular lifetime. One of the reasons Jupiter is exalted in the sign of Cancer is because ultimately your first teachers are your family, or specifically your mother, and your culture, which corresponds to Sag, Jupiter, the ninth house, is often found within, or your first culture, the one you first learned, is found within your fourth house. Okay, so the fourth house also deals with your roots, the roots where you come from. Now, this is different than where you were born, because you can be born here in America like myself, but then have Caribbean roots. And I strongly identify with my Caribbean roots. Okay. I also identify with being Jamaican American as well. So you really want to examine the effect that the culture that you've been born into has upon you. Now, if you have planets in this fourth house, that's going to start to reveal or show your orientation towards culture and how it manifests. And this is where it gets deep, y'all. There are no set formulas like it's always going to be this way. Or, okay, you have Venus in the fourth house, so you have good relationships with your mom or family and you should stay close to them. It doesn't always go that way, right? You can have the good relationships, but it doesn't mean you should stay comfortable there. But we'll get there. So you want to look at that effect and understand your condition. Now, I also like to tell people you don't want to look at things too literal with astrology. Just you want to gain an understanding of them. So the third house, the fourth house, fifth house, these are all corresponding towards early education. For logic's sake, let's say third house is elementary education and the fifth house is high school. And then, opposite to the third is the ninth. That's where you go for your higher studies, but that's not always in a traditional school setting. Okay. With that said, we can also look at those correspondences via the fourth, right? So you can, for me at least, I may see something going on in the fourth house, and it have a third house manifestation. So I just brought up Venus. Venus in the fourth house is going to be about relationships with family, right? And what's definitely going to be included is siblings. Siblings is going to be included. So Mercury corresponds towards siblings and our ability to learn from them, but Venus in this context is showing our relationship with them. So maybe the Venus is harmonious and our sibling is like our best friend, or maybe it's like I get along with everyone in the family except for that fucking brother of mine or that sister. You know what I mean? That kind of thing. So these are all things that you'll want to evaluate. Evaluate, okay, how is my fourth house manifesting in my fifth, in my third, and even your second? Okay. So conditioning also, the conditioning aspect also plays towards the second house and the values that you inherit. So one of the first ways or the easiest way for a person to be undercut by the fourth house is being comfortable or complacent within an environment that isn't conducive towards their higher potential. So I'll just reiterate again, you can love your family and they still be have a negative effect on you and where you're going. So it will kind of be, let's say we have a Pisces in the second and maybe moon, or yeah, let's go with moon. Let's say moon is in the second house, right? And that fourth house is in Taurus, right? So the moon is in Pisces, Taurus is ruling the fourth, and let's say Venus is in the sixth house. So this can correlate towards growing up in poverty. That Pisces moon in the second may feel like, man, I never was able to have the other things that other kids had. Like we just didn't have a lot, right? Or another, and there's a why behind that too. It could represent that one parent, maybe mom, wasn't very good with money. Then I brought Venus in the sixth, and that shows that she may have been always working, but it wasn't necessarily enough. So based on how this moon in the second absorbs the second house value. So mom may be stressed with money situation stress, but she's a hard worker. That child saw mom get up every day and grind and put in work. This works in a way where the potential of that fourth house, right, in Taurus, is that one is willing to work, understands the value of working for the things that they want. This person is motivated by their sorrows or, not having enough. So it's contingent on what one witnessed. So in the same example, let's just say this was more like mom may have been struggling, didn't really have a job or desire to work. Then it shows that, okay, I don't know the value of hard work, or hard work is not something I subconsciously took in. So I myself may have a desire to do better, but the individual doesn't have the recall to lean on to motivate them. So that fourth house Taurus becomes lazy. You have these desires, but you don't know how to work for them, or you don't want to. So that is one way. So depending on the person, now what's the make or break here is the person's consciousness around what is occurring. So in either scenario, there can be a close relationship with mom, but in each scenario, it would be best to separate in order to gain your own independence as well as be within your own influence. So that's why for a lot of people, the ninth house, higher learning, college is important within expansion, and also why it's right after the eighth house of transformation. So we're going to be mindful of what we're learning. Another way the fourth house can undercut us is the actual environment not being supportive to the individual. Now, I've seen this a lot with Pluto there. Pluto in the fourth, North Node in the fourth, the malefics, right? The malefics. This is going to bring conflict on the home base. In this example, a person may be, and I just want to say this. I'm going to be real with y'all. We're living in a time where a lot of these limitations, even if they're experienced, like you feel like you're going through this, there's so many ways or solutions to this as to where it wasn't in the past. I'll give an example. I know of someone who uh, is a lesbian, and they were a lesbian in the 80s. This is before uh, all of this was mainstream. And do you know that this woman was not able to adopt a child because she was a single woman? And I think at the time, you needed to at least be married or, those technical things, right? So that's an example of the time period and societal limitations limiting that individual's desire or ability to obtain what they want. When we tailor this to the environment, I kind of first gave you that you you want to be aware of the family influence. Now you want to think about the relationship with the environment. And this is kind of looking at like where am I at, and who are the people, what happens to the people who come from here? Every city in America has a history. And an easy way to really kind of look at this is if you've been out of high school for 10 years, go in your damn yearbook and check up on people. See where others are. And whoever's still local, see how they're doing, right? And that'll give you an understanding. So I got cut off, my microphone died, and I was talking for like 15 more minutes. So damn, I was going in, but I'm gonna try to recap a little bit more about what I was saying. So in this instance, I was just saying that you'll want to take a look at your environment to see what the themes may be. Do people from this area fall prey to drugs, teen pregnancy, uh, or just a lack of motivation and dreams? Okay. And then you want to evaluate for yourself, and this is really done by just being real with yourself. What kind of environment or support do you need in order to have peace of mind? So another one of the things in which I talked about the malefic energies and kind of how this thing plays out. And I want to say this with the malefic energies: Pluto, Saturn, the North Node, Mars. These energies serve as catalysts. Typically, they'll present difficult situations with the mother or the family, and all of this is meant to be the catalyst for you to become independent, seek out what peace of mind is for you. All right. So at the same time, what I've also seen is that those positions specifically can be attached towards codependency. And there's a difference here between like being codependent from a moon, Venus, or sun perspective versus being codependent with these malefics. These malefics can produce things like domestic violence, or this is a thing like a relationship that derails your potential. I like to look at certain things like someone with Saturn in the seventh house, right? That isn't someone who should move in with a partner when they're 21 or 20. Okay? You There are certain positions that the individual needs time to heal, do the work on themselves, discover more of themselves, and hence like the North Node for sure. And all of the malefics in the fourth house really are encouraging independence and um, having to figure out how to make yourself happy through effort. Okay, so what'll happen is the person may enter into the wrong relationship. They may enter a relationship with someone who's just not good for them or doesn't serve their overall potential. And I gotta just add this in there, like, let's just say it's as simple as you meeting someone, being with someone who you're really connected to, but they want kids early, like at that moment, and you yourself know this is not what I want now. People with Pluto and the other malefics here may sacrifice and put their dreams on the back burner. The decisions you make with malefics there should be a lot more independent based. And I would really suggest to you not getting married before your Saturn return and not doing too much, trying to create a life or settle down too early, because it'll bring on even more the negative effects. Then I talked about like the sun in the fourth house, the moon in the fourth house, Venus in the fourth house. These positions can bless one with conveniences of the fourth. So a good security, a good foundation. But they can also increase one's complacency. What happens here in the fourth house, if you are not willing to work for things, right? Or if you prefer to have them given to you. And these are all within the range of fourth house people, their mentalities. There are fourth house people out there who just want to get married and they think once I get married, things will be easier because I'll be with someone, right? Or if you come from a family that offers you certain conveniences, right, that's financially well off, and you choose to just mooch off of that, you don't develop the hard work needed to get into the 10th. So regardless of how you slice it, we all want security. We all want comfortability, but it's not going to be enjoyed unless you put in work for what you have. All right? And then based on that, I hope you can see how this helps you avoid negative relationship scenarios like codependency or domestic violence. You would have already established what you're capable of doing on your own. So I want to give this also insight, like going back to the conditioning aspect, is like those people, like relationships with them can be good. They can also hinder you because they may not support what you love or about. I used Venus as an example before, saying that, could have great relationships with them, immense love, but maybe you come from a family of doctors, lawyers, but you want to be an artist. They're not going to be able to support that. So by establishing some independence, breaking out of that environment, you're more able to discover what it is that you love. And then I also put here, if you have like a fourth house positions with ninth house positions, this is very much so encouraging movement within life. You're meant to see and expand more. Okay. And then the last thing I was saying is that, like, if you do come from that good foundation, that can be an advantage for you in getting started in the real world, but it still requires you to be responsible. So if you know that, like, okay, I don't have to save as much money as I would to get my first place because, my family will help me out, that's a good thing because you're still choosing independence. That's different than saying, well, I don't got to leave here, so I'm not. And for certain people with Moon or Venus or even Saturn, you may never be pushed out. There may be an environment that's like, all right, keep the fam together, okay? And then you'll see over time, let's say when you get to your Saturn return, that like, okay, I have new desires, new things that I want for myself, but there are going to be limitations there based on your fourth house situation. Okay? I'm sure I said all this better the first time I was recording, but whatever. I hope you guys still get the point. So this is my interpretation of how the fourth house may be preventing you from finding success and happiness. Feel free to chime in. Let me know what's going on in your world. Check out my book, Astrology of the Matrix. Check out my website, GeminiBrown.com. Got some things going on. Until next time, peace.